Hey, my Liptons. So I wanted to come in here and do a Amar Prem movie review, a quick review actually, because on the poll that I did do on my channel, I promised whichever poll went one first. I put Aradhana, then I also put Amar Prem. So of course Aradhana won first, so I do have the Aradhana review up on my channel. Y'all can go watch that review. But and then Amar Prem came second. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I actually watched Amar Prem first before I watched Aradhana. I was mostly like procrastinating on Aradhana, but like Amar Prem was actually a film like I actually watched first. And it is on YouTube. There's English subtitles for it. Let me just say this, right? I really well. Let me give you guys like the quick, like summary on the film. On the film Amar Prem, which also means immortal love in English. So this film was also directed by Shankit Samanta, who also was the director for Aradhana as well. Most of his major hits were always with Rajeshkhanna and Sharmilatagore. Anytime their pairings were together, anytime those two came on screen for a Samanta film, it either became a blockbuster or it became a hit. So this film actually was a remake from a Bengali film called Nishi Padma, that film was released in 1970. And I know sometimes a lot of these industries, especially especially no shade, but especially Bollywood, they like to borrow. They do like to take some of their concepts from other industries within India, especially from the south. But yeah, and they all do it, but Bollywood does it a lot. But yes, and basically like the film, so Sharmila Tagore's character, whose name is Pushpa, a more simpler name than she had in Aradhana, at least for me. So it starts off in the beginning with Sharmila Tagore's character Pushpa getting, I guess, kicked out by her husband, and they don't even show that part in the beginning. Like, I'm gonna get to my thoughts, but like about like the film overall, and like if I truly like it, but like, so her character Pushpa gets kicked out by her husband because her husband ended up marrying a second wife. I guess now that's her own, yeah, and basically like beats her, throws her out. She goes to her mom for help, and like the community, like especially at that time, like I said, early 70s. Well, it's also based on a book, but like I guess whatever area of that time that this was taking place, like a married woman or a woman leaving her husband's house, wanting to come back to their parents' house, it was very unacceptable. Like the woman was always either ostracized, demeaned, stigmatized. Like it was always like that. And then her mother also disowns her as well. She tries to commit, suicide, but then she ends up getting sold to a brothel in Calcutta by her village uncle, Nepal Babu. And Anand Babu, a businessman, was like seeking love, and like she's actually a really good singer. And Anand Babu is unhappily married, lonely, and becomes her regular and exclusive visitor as love blossoms. And of course, Anand Babu is Rajesh Khanna's character. Okay, so Rajesh Khanna's character in the film, like he was very like, you could tell like he was just like depressed. He was indulging in alcohol. He would just kept coming to the brothel. I will say this. in the film, Anand Babu, like they tried to like portray like how his wife was very neglectful in the movie. I wish they could have shown that part. Like I wish they could have like casted someone for Anand Babu's wife and like for us to see that dynamic. But I don't know if it's like screen time or runtime. They didn't have time to cast anybody, but I'd rather that have been like a whole scene and that had been filmed instead of like it like I guess being insinuated that that's what's going on with Rajeshkhanna's character Anand Babu. So obviously later a widowed man with his family from the same village as her moves to the brothel, not moves not too far from the brothel, and the new neighbor's son Nandu does not get like love at home. Like his stepmother doesn't care about him. Like she just, is that evil stepmother stereotype. And Nandu's father learns about Pushpa's like love life and her new life, and forbids her from interacting like with him. Mind you, this is the neighbor that she knew this neighbor for her whole life, and because now she is a courtesan, she's in a brothel, so it's like that's also a no. That's very like you don't interact with anybody that's within that field. So the neighbor basically is telling Pushpa like don't interact with him, don't interact with his family, because he don't want people talking and gossiping. However, Pushpa starts to treat the neighbor's son Nandu as her own son. She feeds him samosas, like giving him food that the stepmother is not doing, and visits her every day. And Anand Babu also becomes fond of him and treats him well. And then Anand Babu's, who is Rajesh Khanna's character again, his brother-in-law comes to see Pushpa and basically tells Pushpa like, listen, like you need to tell Anand Babu to stop visiting you, like, because it looks bad. At the end of the day, he's married, he's coming to this brothel, like it looks horrible. And like I said before, I wish that like in the film they could have like given us a scene, like they could have casted someone to play Anand Babu's wife and her feeling some type of way about Anand going to a brothel, even though like she's a neglectful wife, she doesn't really like, she's not really being a housewife or something like that. I wish they could have shown that more in the movie or casted it at all. Like it was always an insinuation. It was always like, oh, this is what Anand Babu's wife said, or this is what she wants, or it's like, well, let me hear from her mouth. I want to see her. So it's like, that's one of the things that kind of annoyed me a little bit when watching this movie. And then Pushpa agrees basically to turn away Anand Babu when he tries to come back to the brothel to come and see her. The businessman realizes that he is in love with Pushpa. Nandu, who is the neighbor's son, suffers from a fever. His treatment is very expensive. Pushpa then goes to Anand Babu for help and doesn't let anybody know because she knows that her neighbor will feel some type of way about that. So basically, she was able to help the little kid, Nandu. And then Nandu's father ends up discovering that it was Pushpa who basically paid for the expenses and saved his son's life, and thanks her and gives her like a sorry, and telling her that it was a gift from a brother to a sister and and it was all good and dandy. And then the little boy, Nandu, and the family, they move to the village and sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just looking at my notes. Just looking at my notes. So several years later, Nandu ends up growing up and becomes like a government engineer, and he meets and he's actually posted at the same town where Pushpa is. And Anand Babu, mind you, after, especially after Pushpa asked Anand Babu for help to, to help, pay for the expenses for Nandu, she stopped seeing Anand Babu then. So it's been actually years actually went by after that. They're both old and everything. And Anand Babu meets Pushpa, and now fast forward, she's like a maidservant who is like mistreated and whatever. And they both when they see each other, it's love at first sight again, all over again. And Anand Babu, like, not Anand, Nandu, the little child who's not grown up, he wants to search for her, and and to thank her, and to and I guess try to build a relationship with her. So Anand, now Nandu also has a son, and they get sick, and they go to the same doctor that helped to cure Nandu. And Anand Babu decides to catch up with like his old friends, and like meets the doctor. And then like during the conversation, he actually stopped. So Anand Babu actually stopped drinking and stopped visiting brothels once he and Pushpa went their separate ways. And he also divorced due to like his wife's, her not being like a good wife, I guess. And he just always remembers Pushpa. He always loves her. And then after that, Nandu actually ends up meeting with Anand Babu, because they end up meeting each other during the doctor's office. And then Anand Babu ends up taking Nandu to Pushpa, and they're both of them saw how Pushpa was being treated as a maidservant, and they stand up for her. And then in the end, like, Nandu takes Pushpa home with him, and and like a son, like, he basically treats her like a mother. And Anand Babu's like, crying and looking on. And obviously in this movie, for like the hardcore, stands that know this movie, one of the main lines that came out of this movie is Pushpa, I hate tears. Okay. So that line ended up becoming so popular that like it came a part of like the everyday diction within India. So it's like, it would just be like one of those one-liners like, oh, Pushpa, I hate tears. Anytime Pushpa will cry, and then that will be the line that Anand Babu would say. So of course, like, that became one of the one-liners within the diction of that time. But yeah, so that's basically like the end of it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I think personally, I prefer, like, storyline wise, I prefer Aradhana over Amar Prem. I think that Amar Prem had a lot of like, it was don't get me wrong, like, I like a simple film, but like, trust me, I'm a job, like I said, a simple film, I'm a job we met person. So I like simplicity, but this was too simple at times. I felt like with the script, like I said, I felt like there were certain things where like they could have included in the film to give it more context, to give it more of like a, okay, like, let me feel the emotional attachment to these characters and what they're trying to say. I would, even though I like the storyline more in Aradhana than I do in Amar Prem, but I think I well, not I think, I actually prefer the songs in Amar Prem than in Aradhana. Like, for me, if we're talking about the songs, like, one of my favorite songs, Chingari, that is one of my favorite songs this movie. Chingari koi that's my song right there. I love that song. And then Ye Kya Hua is one of my favorite songs too. Like, if we're gonna be honest, Kishore Kumar, even though I actually think I personally prefer Muhammad Rafi's like singing voice more than I do Kishore Kumar. But if we're talking about like one of his best vocal performances, I think he sang Chengari Koi Badalke exceptionally well. I thought that he sang it so well. And then Ye Kya Hua, like to me in this film, he was singing amazingly in this film. And of course, obviously you have Lata Mangeshkar. She was one of the top female vocalists at that time. So yeah, I actually preferred the music in this film than I did in Aradhana. But storyline wise, I prefer Aradhana's storyline over Amar Prem's storyline because I just felt like Amar Prem, it was just it was too, and it's like I think that too they also depended on the star power of Rajesh Khanna because especially at this point in 1972, Rajesh Khanna was a huge superstar. That's what they called him, superstar Rajesh Khanna. He was a huge star at that time. So it's like, especially talking about early 70s, anything you slap Rajesh Khanna on, the people are gonna go see it. So I think that also due to the star power of Rajesh Khanna and always him and the collaboration between him and Shankit Samata, it was always going to be here along obviously to along with Sharmilatagore. Sharmilatagore was also the belle of Bollywood at that time. So yes, like I just think personally Amar Prem was okay. It was an okay film. I personally can live without it. I mean not live without it. Like I can go years without watching it. Like it's not something that I'm gonna go back to. Obviously, the music, like I love the music in this film, but I just thought that like the storyline could have been a little bit more stronger for me personally. Obviously, it did tell about it did give like a few messages about how women who are outcasted for leaving like their husband's house or how they're treated when their husbands do things like as far as like marrying another wife or how the first wife is treated, so those things are, those are the messages I do appreciate. I can't lie. And how, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, it also in this film they discuss like, as far as like, cause especially like in a few Bollywood films, you see how like hookers or courtesans or prostitutes or whoever, how they're treated compared to like in the West. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you, courtesans, and maybe I have to look into it, but like courtesans are also, in some ways, I'm not saying all the time, but like especially at that time, they're treated a little bit more differently. There's a little bit more of like a regard for them compared to, I actually think there's levels to like prostitution, I guess you can say, like during, especially if you're looking like in India, in Indian history, like if you're looking back in like empires that took place there. So there are levels to, I'm not saying that they're still not on the bottom of the social totem pole, but like there's definitely levels to certain like labels as far as like being like a hooker or being a prostitute or being a courtesan or even being like a royal courtesan. That used to be a thing back in like the Mughal era, in certain empires in India as well. So it's a very interesting topic and a very interesting read to look into. And even me, I'm still trying to get into like all that information. But I thought that this was a nice film, but it could have been stronger overall storyline wise. I thought the music was strong. But yeah, this is one of the, this wasn't like a blockbuster. Was it a blockbuster? I think it was a hit. It was more like a hit film. It wasn't like a blockbuster, I don't think. Because at this time too, in 1972, Pakiza came out, which by the way, I'm trying to find Pakiza because I want to watch it. So Pakiza, came out at that time. Dushman, Beman, all those films came out. 1972 was a big year for big films, blockbusters. So this was a hit film, and Samantha, he like I said, he had most of his hits were with Rajesh Khanna. Samantha, he couldn't when it came to his collaboration with Amitabhbachchan, no, it never went well. So yeah, Rajeshkhanna was definitely his gold mine. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. That's my little quick review of Amar Prem. Yeah, that's my quick review of that. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get up to 1,000 subscribers. The goal is to get to, yeah, the goal is to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Thank y'all so much, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.